All right, everyone. Well, it's the top of the hour. My name is Dr. Kirk Fisnick, and I've got my co-host and friend Katie Larking on the call with me tonight. And we're going to be talking a little bit about anti-aging. We're going to be discussing some important nutritional products and how they work, how they help to support the body in this quest for eternal youth, I guess is what we'd call it, but really that's not what it really is. I think, people have the misconception that we're trying to get their body to do something that it's not supposed to do. But really what we're doing is we're just trying to get people so that they can live healthy into old age. It's all about, the health span rather than lengthening the lifespan, isn't it, Kate? We learned that a couple of years ago.
Absolutely. And we've got a little video to demonstrate that. Actually, I've included that in these slides today as well.
Okay, perfect. Well, let's get this thing rolling and get talking a little bit about this. And everyone, thanks for joining us tonight. Thanks for being with us. For those of you that are here with us live on on Zoom, and those that are watching live on Facebook, welcome. For those of you that are watching the recording, get back to the person that brought you here. Get back to the person that got you the recording, and let them know that you might be interested in taking a look at some of this stuff, or maybe even getting started. So anti-aging is still considered the fastest growing branch of medicine right now. And anything that we say in the video, anything on the recording, anything live, it's not meant to take the place of your healthcare provider. If you do feel that you have something wrong, if you have a healthcare condition, consult with your physician, consult with your healthcare provider, because this isn't a substitute for medical care. Katie, thanks for running the slides for us today. Three factors that really affect aging is that when we take a look at it, as you age, there's a number of things that are going to happen. And I'm not going to read it directly off the slides, Katie. I'm just going to kind of talk here that when we take a look at it, your cells have a built-in time bomb, basically. Think of it like a time bomb. They're set so that they can only survive for a certain length of time. And then when they get to that age, then they're set to basically self-implode upon themselves. And the reason for that is because as cells age, they start to accumulate genetic damage, DNA damage, and what happens then is when the cells divide and multiply, they pass on the DNA, they pass on the genetic material. If you've got some DNA damage, if you've got some DNA splicing that's not supposed to be in there, what's going to happen is then those cells, when they multiply, when they divide, they're going to pass on the DNA with the damage, with the mutations in it, and that's not good. So now all of a sudden you're going to have a damaged cell that's going to be passed on. But not only that, now it's going to pass on that DNA damage, and it's going to pass that on. It's going to pass it on, and that's really what happens when you get cancer. Is that it's passing on these genetic mutations, and the mutated cell just goes crazy. And like you might have a cell that's supposed to be in your nose, and it might be in your lung, and you know that's not supposed to be there, and that's what can happen. And so part of the problem is that the cells don't have enough energy, and they don't have enough energy to create the I guess the NAD and the cellular energy. And what happens is that the cells start to break down, and they start to accumulate all of this gunk in there, and then what eventually will happen is that causes that cell to get sluggish, and it doesn't work the way that it's supposed to, and that triggers these cells to have the telomere damage, and what happens is the telomeres start to shorten. And remember, I said you got fuses, you've got a built-in time bomb, and the time bomb is controlled by the telomere. And what happens is that when that telomere gets too short, the cells go into the self-destruct mode, or they go into being what's called senescence. And when they go into senescence, in previous studies, years gone by, they thought that senescent cells were merely stem cells that went to sleep. But what they found is that senescent cells produce a form of a chemical that what happens is it leaks out. It leaks into neighboring cells and it causes damage to the neighboring cells. And now those cells also go into senescence. They go into that zombie state. Okay, Katie, next slide now. Sorry about that. So some of the things that affect this, of course, is that if you're stressed out, the part of the cell that's damaged the most by stress, is damaged the easiest, is called the mitochondria. And the mitochondria is that nuclear power plant of the cell. It's the part of the cell that actually uses the NAD to make energy. So you can tell that if you're stressed out and it's going to do everything that I just talked about, that's not good. The other thing that can cause problems is UV rays from exposure from the sun to certain kinds of light and things like that. And what that does is that damages the cell as well. That damages the DNA and it causes those DNA mutations. Lack of exercise, being overweight, smoking cigarettes can be detrimental on that DNA. Not eating enough fruits and vegetables, not getting your vitamins from your fruits and vegetables, not getting enough omega-3s, the wrong fats. You know, sometimes with this keto craze that everybody's on, a lot of people think a keto diet is a bacon diet, and they start to eat a lot of fried foods and things like that. And they go, oh, it's okay, I'm on a keto diet. No, that's not right. And then lack of supplementation. And folks, I mean, I've got friends of mine who tell me all the time that, oh, I don't take any of your stuff. I don't take any vitamins. I just eat right. Well, I'm telling you, according to studies that they've done at Harvard, over 97% of people have a lack of nutrients in their diet. And I'm not going to gamble with that. I'm not going to gamble and say that I'm part of the 3% that does. I'm going to supplement. Harvard and the United States government both came out with studies, and they said that a prudent individual will take a supplement. And I just really don't think that a multivitamin is enough, especially the multivitamins that most of you are probably taking. So as we age, we start to notice that our stem cells start we have a lack of stem cells. When you're young, when you're below the age of 20, you have lots and lots and lots of stem cells. Stem cells are necessary because they're the ones that the stem cells are the ones that replace and repair damaged cells. Think of them like the Maytag repairmen in your body. They repair the damaged and decaying cells. And so if you've got some DNA damage, a stem cell is going to come in and it's going to say, whoops, get out of here. And it's going to replace it with a stem cell. And then that stem cell is going to turn into whatever cells. So if you need a new cell, say you damaged your shoulder, that stem cell is going to turn into a shoulder cell. If you damaged your knee, it's going to turn into a knee cell. If it's your heart, your lungs, it's going to turn into that appropriate cell. But what happens is as we age, we tend to lose a lot of those stem cells. We've used them up basically. And so by the time you're 50 years old, you've used up about 50%. By the time you're 80, you've used up 80% of your stem cells. That's why you really don't see or feel the effects of aging that much before the age of 50. Some people do, but most of the time, it's really after the age of 50, you start going, holy cow, I feel old. You know, people dread that 50th birthday because they do tend to feel older after that. So here's a little video. This was produced by Health Canada a number of years ago. I used it on a program that I went out and talked about a number of years ago. So we're going to play this, about a 3-minute video, or not even.
What will your last 10 years look like? Will you be quick enough for a game of tag with your grandchild? Strong enough to embrace every moment? immortality? Or get old with disease? It's time to decide. The average Canadian will spend their last 10 years in sickness. Change your future.
You know, I really found that to be very powerful, and that's why I started using that video, because you think about it. You don't wait until you're sick and then you start going, oh my God, what do I do now? How do I make the changes? I mean, yeah, that's what you do when if you get sick, but things don't come on all of a sudden. When we hear of people having all of a sudden, no, it didn't come on all of a sudden unless it was induced by a toxin or if it was induced by an accident or something like that. But you know, we start working on it when we're younger. I started working on my anti-aging 30 years ago. When I was 30 years old, I started working. I'll turn actually a month from now, I'll turn 61, and I feel like I'm in pretty good shape. I go for a walk every day, and I just I feel fantastic. I actually feel better today than say I did 15, 20 years ago. I don't have any back pain anymore. My back pain is all gone. Just a couple of years ago, it went away, and you know, I have lots of energy. I feel like when I look in the mirror, I feel like I'm aging slower. But what exactly is cellular senescence? And what happens is cellular senescence is, like I said, when these fuses, when that time bomb starts to tick too fast, and all of a sudden your cells, they divided so many times that there isn't anything left. There's nothing left to pass on to the next cell. And that's what senescence is. Again, like we talked about, senescence is it used to be thought of as when the cells went to sleep and they just became sleepy and tired, and they kind of just filled in a spot over there in the corner. But what they found was that these cells don't do that. They become zombie cells, and what they do is they want to make other zombie cells. They want to get everybody to be a zombie cell. Katie, if you want to, next slide. So I keep moving the video part here. Let me move that. Okay. So aging inhibits the immune system, and the immune system is really, we really started talking about this a lot in the last 3 years. Over the course of the last 3 years, we know exactly what happened, you know, is that this pandemic hit. It was almost 3 years ago today. It was 3 years ago this week when all of a sudden they named it as a pandemic, when they called it COVID-19, and they found that the immune system really was affected by this aging. It was really affected by these cells that just seem to stick around. You know, they didn't go into this apoptic state, which is a programmed cell death, and what happens is then you have a decreased function of your immune system. And then when you have a decreased function of your immune system, the immune system doesn't go out and recognize these dead, dying cells like they're supposed to, and it allows them to live longer. Next slide. And senescence is really, you know, I don't know, they say the process of growing old. It's, I don't know if I'd say that. It's the process. Senescence is when the cells have gone into this old age, but it's not, it doesn't have to be old. It doesn't have to be old, as we're finding out. We can have people that are young that have senescent cells. We see people in their 20s that have senescent cells. When we start look at the diseases, Alzheimer's disease, type 2 diabetes, graying hair, different kinds of cancer, osteoporosis, cardiovascular disease. And oh my God, you know, you think about it. In the last couple of years, how many people do you know, or how many times have you heard about that somebody had a cardiovascular event? You know, young person. It didn't have to be an old person. I just heard about somebody that was under the age of 10. But osteoporosis, pulmonary fibrosis, renal disease. A friend of mine died from a heart disease about 15 years ago, 16 years ago. And I just watched the news about a week ago, and here his 16-year-old son was getting a heart transplant. So some of it can be passed on. You can have some genetic stuff that that makes it bad too, but it can cause kidney problem, neurodegenerative diseases, metabolic dysfunction. All of these things can be a consequence of this senescent cells. So there's a lot of ways that you can do things to prevent the senescent cells, like we talked about. Exercise, get out and exercise, eat right, eat lots of dark green, dark yellow, dark red, purple, green, dark green fruits and vegetables. They all have certain things in them that help. They found that strawberries of all things, and I know a lot of people that say, oh, I just love strawberries. Well, strawberries have an ingredient called ficitin. And I remember when Tom Sr. and I started talking about this, and Tom and I were talking about how many strawberries would you actually have to eat? And you'd have to eat a room full of strawberries every day in order to get enough ficitin to actually make a difference. But since COVID, it's pretty interesting. They've done a lot of studies on ficitin, and they did some studies in the nursing homes over in the United Kingdom, over in the UK, over in England, Ireland, and that area, and Great Britain, and they found that ficitin helped with reducing the number of people that had heart disease as a result of the COVID. But senescent cells, as they accumulate, what happens is they cause damage to the organ. And so when the organs and when the healthy cells are turned into the zombie cells, they start to accumulate, and what they do is they release these hormones called SASP, SASP, and it causes inflammation. It causes a lot of other things, but basically what it is, it's kind of like that the senescent cell gets the other cells to drink this Kool-Aid, and oh my God, it makes the cell just go haywire, and it continues to accumulate, and pretty soon you start having old aging cells. And here it shows mice, and it shows how it accumulates. They just did a study here in the United States. They released a study, and they showed the 10 most polluted cities in the United States, and of the 10, I guessed on 6 of them before I read the study, and I guessed right on 6 of them. But you in those cities, you're going to age faster. You're going to have more senescent aging diseases, Katie. So when you have mice that are treated for the senescence, so they're treated so that their cells don't go into senescence. They're treated so that their immune system knows how to identify senolytic cells and how to get rid of them. What ends up happening is that the mice, these 2 mice are the same age. They start to look younger. They start to grow their hair back. They start to have that healthy spine without the osteoporosis. Their kidneys function better. Their heart function better. And that's all we need is healthy mice. But the thing about it is that when we look at mice and rats and other animals as well, they have a lot of the same organ type of things that humans do, and so it's easier to study a mouse. A mouse might have a 1-year lifespan, but when they take a look at the size of the organs and things like that, that correlates to the lifespan of a human, being a 100-year-old human, something in that range. So we can take and we can study these mice, and we can take and reverse that senescence, and we can get those mice so that they increase 25%. And what if we could do that with the same thing with people? So that's what they're doing. And right now, I remember I was talking to Tom Sr. about this in 2019. I had read a study that Mayo Clinic it's 3-4 hours away from me here. And Mayo Clinic said that they were going to be the premier anti-aging clinic in the world. And I thought to myself, how can they make that claim? How can they decide that they're going to be the premier anti-aging clinic in the world? What are they doing? And so I started digging deeper and deeper and deeper, and I started going down that rabbit hole, and I wanted to find out what were they doing. And what they were doing is they were taking a natural ingredient that comes from apples and oranges and persimmon and onions and things like that. It's called glycertin, and they were combining it with a form of chemo called dastatinib. And what they found is that they could reduce the number of these senescent cells. And that was their holy grail. That's what they were going to go with. So I decided, well, if they're going to run with that, I'm going to find out what exactly does this dastatinib, what is this chemotherapy? What are they doing? And so I start digging a little deeper, and it turns out that it was based on the function of ficitin. And so I thought, well, if ficitin, an ingredient found in strawberries and other fruits and vegetables, can do the same thing as the chemo without having to take the chemo, because of course, I believe that when you ever take a drug, there's side effect. So I started taking the ficitin and I started taking the glycertin. And then Tom Sr. and I were talking, and he said, I made this great discovery. I said, does it have anything to do with ficitin and glycertin? And there was just dead silence. There was crickets over the telephone. And Tom said, how'd you know that? And we had read some of the same studies, but so Stemolytic was evolved from that. And what Tom did is he took that ficitin and he put in a therapeutic dose, because at the time I was buying ficitin just from another company. I was just buying raw ficitin. I was taking raw ficitin, I was taking raw glycertin, and I was taking a couple of other things. And Tom and I were talking. He's, oh, you're not taking enough of that. You're not taking enough of that. You're not taking enough of that. And so February of 2020, he launched Stemolytic, and it has 8 powerful senolytic agents, and they all work together, but they all work separately as well. And what they do is they cause the immune system to recognize the senolytic cells and pull them out of the body. So pretty amazing. And so I'm right here. It's right in front of me. I take mine every morning, right before I drink my coffee. I take my Stemolytic. I take that along with the TSX, the telomere support extreme. But it helps to selectively pull out these zombie cells out of the body, and just using natural ingredients. And the difference between using a natural ingredient and using a drug, like Mayo Clinic is using with their dastatinib, is that drugs trick your body into doing something that it wouldn't normally do, where natural products don't do that. They might have the same function, but they don't trick the body into doing something that it's not supposed to do. And so that's what I like about it. And again, like it said on the bottom of the slide, we can't make any medical claims, anything like that about our product. That's why I'm talking about the active ingredients. I'm not talking about the product. I'm talking about the active ingredients in the product, because there's plenty of studies on it. So then we talk about earlier, what I was talking about, what causes the cells to go into senescence in the first place? Well, lack of energy, lack of NAD. And so Age Pill was created a number of years before Stemolytic. And what Tom found there was that it removes that gunk that I was talking about, gunk from everyday living, gunk from eating carbohydrates, gunk from eating too much fatty food. And think of it like your automobile. You take your car in every so many miles and you have the oil change. You don't wait till your oil light, till that red light comes on your dash and it starts flashing and it says your engine's going to blow up. You go get your oil change. At least you should. If you wait till your red light comes on, you need to go back and talk to your dad a little bit more. But you need to remove those toxins out of the body, and that's what the Age Pill does. And as a result of doing that, they found that it increases the energy, it increases the function. It makes the motor run better, and it makes the motor last longer. And that's what it does to your body. So it supports this cellular detox, like I said, getting rid of what's called the glycation. Think about the word glyc. That's similar to the word glucose, right? So glycation, it's the side effect of eating carbohydrates turn into glucose. Even protein turns into glucose before your body can use it as energy. So if you're on one of those fad diets where you're not eating any glucose and you say, oh, I'm not going to get any glycation, don't lie to yourself. You're still going to get glycation even when you eat a protein. And then the other one is lipofusion. And lipofusion is the side effect of eating too much fat. And so if you're doing the keto diet, you're going to have more lipofusion, and that gunk, that garbage that gets into the bottom of the cells, that's what we're removing with the Age pill. And so that causes a decrease in the adenosine triphosphate, which is ATP, and it's basically it's the fuel of life. It's what keeps us alive. And when you reduce that, you're going to live longer. So you can see here on this slide, again, like we talked about with the stem cells, as you get older, you have a decreased function of your stem cells because you have less of them. Here you have a declining energy, right? Look at that slide. By the time you're 80 years old, you're down to about 20% of your NAD, and it's just not enough. It's not enough. So the Age pill helps to rebuild that. So when your NAD declines, you can see here by this list. Again, I'm not making any claims. I'm not going to say that taking the Age pill is going to change us, but in reality, I think it should. And we've seen some testimonials on this. Maybe next week we should play some testimonials. But the nervous system is affected: Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, prion diseases, amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, heart disease, cardiomyopathy, cardiac hypertrophy, cardiac ischemia, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, which we're seeing a huge increase in non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. People say, well, I shouldn't have any liver problems. I'm not an alcoholic. But this is non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. And then and that's because the accumulation of this glycation, a lot of it is due to that. And then you have alcoholic fatty liver disease, and you have other liver type problems, and you have problems with the colon, and you have problems with the kidneys. Every night now I'm seeing advertisements for medication for chronic kidney disease, CKD. And I never used to see those advertisements. Now it's like, talk to your doctor about this, talk to your doctor about that. And then you start to see the muscular dystrophy, and you start seeing sarcopenia, where people they just look like they're dying, and that's not healthy. So glycation, we've seen that with arthritis and neurodegenerative disorders. And if you're wondering what neurodegenerative disorders are, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, dementia, things like that, diabetes, heart disease, renal failure. I mean, you're starting to see a kind of a theme here. All of these things seem to just run together, none of them separate, right? So here's Anthony. And I remember when I saw these photos, I mean, he's a type 1 diabetic. So that means he's had problems with his blood sugar, with his pancreas, since when he was a young child. And most type 1 diabetics, they get it when they're very young. And he was taking this product for 5 months when he noticed the difference in these photos. Look at that. Look at the difference between the photo on the left and the photo on the right. 5 months of just taking the Age pill, 50 years old. Amazing. So when you take the Age pill, it's going to help reduce a lot of the glycation, the toxins, all of those different things like we talked about. And then, we talked about the stem cell, the telomeres. The telomeres, they call them the chromosome end caps. Like, think of those little plastic dealies on the end of your shoelaces that keeps your shoelace from unraveling. Well, a telomere is similar to that on the end of your chromosome that keeps it from unraveling. And when it gets too short, what it does, it tells the cell to go into senescence. So as you age, when you're first conceived, you've got about 15,000. By the time that you're born, you've used up a third of it just making you out of you. And then by the time that they get down to the last third, there isn't enough left. There isn't enough telomere nucleotides at the end of those telomeres, and all of a sudden it can't support life anymore. So we came up with a product, and this is the product that actually got me into Sizzle. It's you can put the next slide, Katie. We came up with a product called TSX, Telomere Support Extreme. And basically what Telomere Support Extreme does is it helps rebuild these telomeres. And you know, we go back, and a lot of you that are my age, you remember when they cloned that sheep, Dolly the sheep, and I was kind of joke around and I say, you know, what was the sheep's what was the name of the clone, and it was actually Molly. But what they found is that when they cloned the sheep, the problem with it is that you're cloning old cells, so the old cell passes on old cells. And so the young sheep had the same diseases as the old sheep, and by the time she was 6 years old, she was gone. But so when we take a look at this, you know, if you could take, and the Nobel Prize was given in 2009 because they found how to extend these telomeres, and they said this is the secret to aging. This is the secret. We've, you know, voila, eureka! We found it.
And now, eternal youth. Is it in a cage around the corner? News tonight of a breakthrough for some pioneering mice. But we always wonder, what does a fountain of youth for rodents reveal for humans? Here's Sharon Alfonsi reporting.
Yeah, we want long age with mice.
Movie Cocoon, it's a swimming pool that turns back the clock for a group of senior citizens. But now researchers have found a way not just to stop, but reverse the aging process. The key is something called a telomere. We all have them. They're the tips or caps of your chromosome, seen here in yellow. This is what it looks like in a young adult. But as you grow older, the telomeres become damaged and frayed, and as they stop working, we start aging, experiencing things like hearing and memory loss. Scientists took mice who were prematurely aged, added an enzyme, and essentially turned their telomeres back on. You can see it before the enzyme, after.
Their brain function improved, their fertility was restored. It was a remarkable reversal of the aging process.
Look at this picture. The mouse on the right has bad skin, gray hair, and is balding, but the one on the left had its telomeres flipped back on.
And you could see that essentially you now have a dark coat color, that the hair is restored, that the coat has a nice healthy sheen to it.
Even more dramatic, the change in brain size. This is before. The mice had 75% of a normal brain, like a patient with severe Alzheimer's. But after the telomeres were reactivated, the brain returns to normal size. As for humans, while it is just one factor, scientists now
I know a lot of people that need to have their brain return to normal size, Katie. But I've been taking that product a number of years. I really like it. I took a telomere test, and it was a number of years ago. And after taking the TSX product for 3 years, they were able to tell me that my average telomere length had improved. It had reversed my age by 10 years after, I think it was 3 years of taking the product. So TSX has kind of what they consider to be the gold standard of telomere enhancing nutrients. It's called astragaloside, and astragaloside isn't a cheap ingredient. You know, when you take a look at astragaloside, it's I think it's like $85,000 per kilo. Now, that's for 2.5 pounds for those of you that don't understand a kilo, but $85,000 per kilo, and so it's an expensive ingredient. And then we've got backup-besides, which is an expensive ingredient. We've got more of these ingredients than any other telomere enhancing product on the market. So we make that available for people, and boy, I tell you what, I feel that it does a lot for me. So here's a testimonial. Jack and I have been taking TSX for 13 months. He bicycles 30 to 40 miles 3 times a week. Feels fantastic. At 37 years young, 37, man, I didn't have any, I didn't even think about mental clarity. But you know, for me, at 60, I used to take, and I used to have to write notes to myself, you know, and I put them in my pocket and things like that. And I don't have to do that anymore. You know, here's you take a look at what it does, what this product can do. Mental function, that seems to be a big worry of a lot of people nowadays, and it should be. They're saying that in the next 20 to 30 years, we're going to see a lot of people having poor cognitive function. So you want to start working on it early. You don't want to start going, oh, I can't remember your name. You want to start working on it early and getting it under control, Katie. So that was the dosage of it. And then Eternity, you know, I know we're running overtime a little bit, but Eternity is such an important product to talk about along with these other products, because resveratrol works with the sirtuin genes. The sirtuin genes are a set of genes in your body that what they do is they repair damaged DNA. And resveratrol is the one that turns their sirtuin genes back on. And they found that you can't just take any old resveratrol that's on the market, because resveratrol oxidizes really quickly. And so when you put it in an encapsulated product, yeah, you get a little bit, but you're losing them. You're losing about 90% of your function of the resveratrol. So what we do with ours is we put it into a liquid form, and we encase it in the bottle by reverse filling it with nitrogen, so that when we're putting it in there, it's not exposed to any oxygen. And that's what makes our product more powerful than anything else that's on the market right now. I haven't found anything that I think works as good as Eternity. So kind of sum it up, you know, I'm just going to say this, is that you want to take and you want to remove all the bad stuff that you're doing in your life. Make the lifestyle changes. If you're not going to make lifestyle changes, don't even buy any product at all. And, you know, Katie, I know you don't like to hear me say that, and the owners of the company probably don't like me to say that either. But if you're not going to make the changes in your life, if you're not going to start getting rid of some of the toxins that are in your life, why are you going to spend the money? Why are you going to spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars, thousands of dollars per year to try and reverse the clock if you're going to continue smoking cigarettes? I mean, come on. If you're going to still using that toxic shampoo and that toxic toothpaste, make those changes first, because now it's going to allow these products to work better. So what we're going to do is we're going to remove the things that are causing the damage as much as we possibly can. Then what we're going to do is we're going to try and repair the genes, the sirtuin genes and the damaged DNA. Then what we're going to do is we're going to extend those telomeres as much as we possibly can. And then what we're going to do is we're going to remove those senolytic cells, the senolytic cells out of the body. Doesn't it make sense? You know,
100%.
And that's the way you look at it. I mean, I'm sitting here on my dining room table, Katie, and I'm just going to show you. I mean, I don't just talk about this stuff. This is laying here because I take it. There's the TSX. Here's the Stemolytic. Here's the age pill, right?
Yeah.
You know, there's the age pill right there. You know, here's the Avenger. Here's the Turn and Burn. Here's the, you know, the. I mean, I take them all every morning. I sit down here and every evening I try and take most of my minerals at night, because I find they're more effective that way, and I can kind of split it up. So, Katie, anything that you want to add?
I know that was great. Lots of great information. And I do agree with you. Like, there's no point in, taking nutritional support if you're not supporting it with your lifestyle changes. Like, if you're still going out and, smoking all the time and drinking and eating fast food, and then you're trying to take these supplements and say, well, it's going to make me younger. It's not. If you're counteracting the benefit from the product by, counteracting it by the lifestyle choices. So you want to get them working together, hand in hand.
get it all working together. That's exactly it. And all of these things are designed to work together. You know, some people, when we came out with Stemolytic, they said, oh, I don't have to take the TSX anymore. No,
No,
you still
they
do,
work together. Yeah, 100%.
because they all work together. So folks, thanks for sticking with us. I know we ran overtime a little bit tonight. Get back to the person that got the video to you. Let them know that you'd like to take a look at it. You'd like to give it a try. Make the decision in your life that you're gonna move forward with trying to have a younger version of you, and that you're gonna try and make your lifestyle so that you have a healthier version. And I think that's more important. You know, if you don't live any longer, but you live 10 years healthier, bingo.
Yeah, 100%. Thanks, Kurt. Thanks, Dr. Kurt. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. Have a great weekend.
Thank you. Bye.